Funding for the art show was made possible by Montgomery County Arts and Cultural District, the Virginia W. Kettering Foundation, proud supporter of the arts in our community, and viewers like you. Thank you.
In this edition of the Art Show, artistic talents run in the family for a mother and daughter. The art of good cooking and business come together. Sculpture with an earth-saving function. And a message of love captivates an entire city. It's all ahead on this edition of The Art Show. Hi, I'm Rodney Veal, and welcome to The Art Show, where each week we provide access to local, regional, and national artists and arts organizations. In our first segment, art definitely runs in this family. Delora Buford Buchanan has been an art teacher for over 30 years. She, in turn, has passed her love of art onto her daughter, Jacoby.
My mother and father were people who exposed me to lots of different things and let me be me. So it was the same thing with the way art was. I could experiment, basically, and I like to do that.
I think that growing up in a household like mine, you kind of had no choice but to be influenced by art. Definitely having a mother like mine has been a huge influence. She was always bringing things home, and she likes to share her process a lot. And so I think even before I made any kind of decision about what I wanted to be, I always knew how things could be done. And when I got older and started making my own work, I found myself just kind of jumping into the process without even questioning it.
I became a paper bag artist because I was thinking about the fact that you don't have to have a lot of money to make things. And you can make all kinds of shapes with something as simple as a paper bag. And then I started shaping, and I started to make turtles. And I thought, oh my goodness, you really can. What else can I make with it? There's no waste when you can use things over. And then a lot of times I see things in things, like little beer caps, and inside their bodies, a playing card is in there. And then there's straws. So it's kind of like it's in a way a recyclable type process too. Then I started to make people, little ones, miniatures. I kind of just like the way little dolls, little people look. And so I started to think how I could even maybe transform them and change them and elongate them and abstract them. I can make faces, but a lot of times you almost can see something, even if there isn't a face. I mean, it's almost like your imagination takes over, and then you don't need a face. I sculpted the sculpture of Jacoby when she was about 11, and it kind of looked like her, and we would be at shows, and she would be sitting there reading a book, and she'd move, and people would go like, oh my, there's the real one, and the like. And I still like to do that. Now I can do 30 different things with a paper bag.
I started dancing when I was 9 or 10. I started in ballet. And so I think the first dance shoes I ever wore were actually my sister's old shoes. And so I took them, and I think just having a love of music and really not having any choice but to kind of move around whenever I heard music had a lot to do with why I started dancing. I originally went to New York for dance. Wasn't really sure what kind of a dancer I wanted to be. Like, I didn't think classical ballet would be the way for me to go, so I kind of aimed towards musical theater. And when I started choreographing, I could order costumes or have someone make them, but it just never occurred to me to do that. I just thought, well, I'll make the costumes myself. I managed to get injured, so when I found myself having to take time off and I started making costumes, one day I thought, actually, this could be it for me. I could be just as happy sewing and making things and watching people wear them. I think this could be what I do. I will go anywhere that requires making a costume. And that's actually how I got into doing the mermaid parades. A friend of mine called me up. I was living in New York. And they called me and said, oh, there's this thing in Brooklyn. It's like a parade or something. Do you want to go? And I said, oh, sure. And I got there, and it was like Coney Island's answer to Mardi Gras. And so between that parade and then the Halloween parade in the village, it gave me 6 months to conceive this really elaborate costume. I got into steampunk in the way that a lot of people do, which is you come from like another subculture. Some people are into like Gothic literature and art. For me, I was a big fan of like cyberpunk. So for anybody that doesn't know what steampunk is, it's basically Victorian science fiction. Visually, it's based in the Victorian age, and so it has that influence on it. But of course, you can bring futuristic elements into it, just as long as you're using materials that would have made sense to people of the time. And so there's a lot of brass, and there's a lot of copper and wood. And it just really lends itself to really great visuals. And I know a lot of people who don't just want to read the books. They want to read the books and then they want to live in that world. And so I started thinking, how can I make things that help people live in that world that they love so much? My favorite thing, I think, is going to conventions and seeing people who are fully decked out and then they turn their head and there's like a hairpiece I made. I love it, and I love to see what people do with my stuff, because I don't really make head-to-toe looks all the time, so I try to focus on small pieces that you can mix and match. And I think I've gotten a reputation for being that person that does like the weird stuff. I think, honestly, art is so much a part of my life that I almost don't know how to distinguish it from the other parts of my life, if that makes any sense. And so for me, I think it kind of goes back to how I grew up. I think art just is everything. It really is.
If you want to see more works by Delora and Jacoby, visit their Facebook page or go to thinktv.org and click on the art show for details. There's definitely an art to good cooking. There's also an art to good business. And for those trying to break into the culinary world, the business side can be a stumbling block. In Cleveland, we visit a food business incubator focused more on the transactions than the ingredients.
The kitchen started about 1.5 years ago, and really we realized that there was a gap in the Cleveland community where people just needed someplace to go where they wanted to start their businesses. Somebody will come to us and they'll say that they have a pasta sauce that's been in the family for generations, and they want to go out and start marketing that to places like Heinen's and Giant Eagle and Constantino's. We'll sit down with them and tell them about the whole process, what's needed, everything from FDA specifications, what needs to go on the label, all the way to making sure that the product is stable. You don't want to have a product that's going to be sitting on the grocery store shelf and blowing up 6 months later. So we'll help them with all of that, pretty much from concept all the way to creation, from the time that they walk into the door till 2 months later when they have product in hand ready to sell.
Our company, Saucy Son, is an artisan meat company.
The name of my product is Home's Mouthwatering Applesauce.
My company is Red Lotus Foods.
The Pope's Kitchen is our brand, and our bottled about 16 products that we're making right now.
Clark, Jean, Ethan, and Melissa came to the Culinary Launch Kitchen with different levels of knowledge about the food industry and different food products in various stages of development.
What the kitchen really provided at the time I came in is a background and understanding that for the types of food that I create, I need an official canning license.
There's so much to take on. Anyone who's ever started a business knows that. And I needed that support.
Some of these amazing people can start out of their home and get their home approved to do their jams and things like that. Unfortunately, I can't. I needed a professional commercial kitchen to do it in. So that was the biggest step for us.
When somebody says, okay, I've got a product, it tastes great, I know I want to sell it, but I don't know what I need to do in order to get it on the shelves at Heinen's. that's where we'll really step in and assist them with making sure that they can cover all the bases to make sure that everything is going to be shelf stable and is going to be safe for consumption. That's the biggest void. People also do have a hard time with figuring out where all the margins are. Obviously, they want to make a good product. They want to make this, their living, but they want to make sure that they're charging the right amount for products. We'll suggest different margins that they should anticipate in the marketplace, both with what they should make as well as what distributors and what retailers are normally asking for.
To assist entrepreneurs with getting their recipes ready for market, the Cleveland Culinary Launch Kitchen serves up a course about the food business where chefs learn everything from pricing to packaging.
We do offer an 8-week class that covers everything from financials. We'll work on business plans with them. And then at the end of 8 weeks, as long as we're happy with how everything worked out with the class, then we'll invite them to become members of the kitchen. At that point, the help really never ends. We'll assist them with making sure that they scale their products up correctly so that if they're making 10 bottles of barbecue sauce and want to make 1,000, we can assist with making sure that they do all the calculations correctly.
The kitchen has basically showed me that things are possible, and they've also showed me the steps to create and to get to those like Heinen's and all those markets that I've recently acquired. They've also showed me a lot of knowledge, just taught me a lot about health standards. I also did a class with the state of Ohio on basically just being in the kitchen the proper ways, washing your hands, and just managing everything. And so all of those steps have led me to where I am today.
Since the Culinary Launch Kitchen opened, they've been involved in bringing dozens of new products to market. To meet the demands of so many different products, CCLK is equipped with a fully licensed commercial kitchen.
We have the kitchen divided up into several different stations. All sorts of commercialized equipment that you would find in a restaurant and not so much at home.
Well, it's extremely important to have a kitchen that is fully licensed and that is available 24 hours a day. I have the flexibility to use it whenever I'm available.
Automatically on day one, you step into the kitchen and take it from a hobby to a real business. So that I am presenting myself to the public as a real business. You're safe, I'm insured, we're covered, because to be a part of the kitchen, you have to have the right insurances.
For all of the support that the Cleveland Culinary Launch Kitchen offers budding entrepreneurs through seminars, training, and shared space, perhaps the most important resource of all is the relationships and connections that the Launch Kitchen users forge between themselves.
The networking that I got as a result of being at the kitchen, the support from other new business owners.
At some point in time, you're going to find yourself at a situation that another tenant's already been in, and so everybody becomes we become friends. And you come in and you're like, oh man, I'm dealing with the health department. I don't know what they want, and they're like, oh my gosh, I just went through this. And so everyone's really willing to give advice and kind of help you through and coach you.
It's the rising tide rises all ships motif, and so you've got that asset. I could have eventually gotten licensed in my own kitchen and figured that stuff out. The advantage is I didn't have to figure that out.
If you have a great idea for a small business, the Entrepreneur Center in downtown Dayton can help you grow your idea. Check out thinktv.org and click on the Art Show for details.
My name is Lowell Converse. I'm a wood turner. I'm originally from Tennessee, where I was inspired by the folks in Gatlinburg who turned wood on the street. I make round things from usually fresh cut wood. I turn it once when it's really fresh, let it dry, then return it. I make bowls and vases, and bats and balls, and I sell some of them, and I give a lot of them away. And I'm getting better as time goes by. I've been doing it seriously for about 17 years now.
We want to introduce as many local artists to the community as we can. So email us a short video like the one you just saw, and maybe we'll give you a quick shout out. It doesn't have to be professional. Just make sure you show us your studio and some examples of your work. Up next, we meet a mechanical sculptor with an ecological conscience. In this segment, we take a ride with him on his carbon monoxide-eating scooter. Learn how this unusual bike siphons emissions to run.
Ready to roll?
I think a lot of folks are just really running down the road and not really seeing what's beside the road. And I'm really interested in smelling flowers and looking at stuff like that. I was a very different kid. I would be always doing drawings. The kids in my neighborhood play baseball, and I'd climb in this tree above the baseball game, and I'd draw them from above. Ever since I was a kid, since I was really little, I was always making stuff in my garage. I used to always be like working and tinkering, like when I was really little, like making stuff and finding out about making things with my hands. That was really important. I was using power tools when I was like 5. Most kids were like, you know, playing baseball. I was like cutting stuff up. I still have all my fingers too. My dad was great. He was an engineer and he helped me to see things and how they go together. And I used to hammer and nails and wood and all kinds of metals and stuff. And I'd make stuff out of that, and he'd make like go-karts. My scooter kind of came about from a couple of places. I'm a mechanical sculptor. I make kinetic sculptures, and I'm always fascinated with machines and how machines move. So in order to make some of the things that I make, I have to make the machines that make these sculptures. So I kind of start at the beginning. I get the machine, and then I fix the machine, and then the machine makes things for the sculptures. So it's kind of like a really progression of stuff. That's how my process sort of starts. I kind of came across this scooter, kind of like a broken scooter. So I fixed it, and I've been riding it with a group of other fellow scooterists around the Capital District. We went on a ride once. There were 10 of us, and we pulled up next to a giant pickup truck which was running on 10 cylinders. And there was one guy in that truck, and there was 10 of us, and he pointed at us and waved, and we laughed, and he laughed. And so we took off, and there was 10 of us going on the same amount of cylinders that his truck was running. So I'm kind of exploring ideas about how much we use, how much we consume as Americans and as people. My scooter is 1 cylinder, it's very small, it gets 90 miles per gallon, and it just hauls me around. So I'm interested in that. It's actually a carbon capture and recovery vehicle. It's called a Zero Scooter, and it's a machine that is carbon neutral. So the amount of carbon dioxide it intakes is equal to the amount it exports. The scooter itself pulls right up to the exhaust, and people kind of look at me kind of weird when I do what's going on. It pulls with a fan carbon monoxide through a filter. The filter is a multi-porous starch-based filter, which is an off-the-shelf item. So I don't know, it's actually Wonder Bread. Now everyone knows. I had initially been interested in the fact that it's kind of humorous.
All right. Yeah.
It was originally designed as a kind of a fun sort of project, but the evolution of it may actually be working. I've kind of gone away from being a sculptor that's just showing people, showing work in galleries. I'm trying to bring my work out into the public and in a public arena. So kind of bring it to people without them really having to go to the gallery to seek it out. I'm seeking them out. My work has evolved from like sedentary sculptures to this kind of sculpture with performance, and all of my sculptures right now have wheels so they can ride. So I have a character that I create, and they're all different characters, but the character I create for the scooter is like a rider, sort of a scientist. And it's more about, my work right now is more about, I mean, there are environmental aspects of it. Like I'm keenly aware about, the environment and what we're doing to the environment and how it's changing. But I think my work, I would like it to be more about observation, people looking at my work and piquing their interest as far as just not something in the norm, you know, like having something just kind of occur and come upon you, sort of, and you're like, wow, that's kind of, you know, interesting. My work is a lot about observation. I think environmental is important, but I think I want people to look at their environment. I think a lot of folks are just really kind of running down the road and not really seeing what's beside the road. I'm hoping to kind of bring about an awareness of this issue as far as carbon monoxide, but more importantly, I really want people to observe their world. I'm a person that's constantly looking at new things. So when you're driving in your car, you know, you're not just driving, you're looking for nuance, and I'm hoping that people will look for that. I want people to look at their environment. I want people to observe it. I want people to be conscious of it.
Did you miss an episode of The Art Show? No problem. You can watch it on demand at thinktv.org. You'll find all the previous episodes as well as current episodes and links to the artists we feature.
My name is Liz Donaldson, and this is the Artist's Tip of the Week. When working on a painting, particularly an oil or an acrylic painting, you would want to do what's called underpainting. So you create big blocks of color on top of a white canvas. In this case, I would start with a very dark brown and a green up here, and then put the paint of the actual image on top of that. That gives your painting depth and a richness of color.
Houston artist Wiley Robertson is working to keep love in the air and on signs and on walls all year round.
Yeah, a lot of people have come to me from seeing the love signs and told me stories about it's made them happy, or I don't know, use it for their wedding photo or something like that. That really makes me happy as an artist. It makes me want to do more stuff. That's, I don't know, a compliment that I love to hear is people recognizing my work and seeing it around town. My name is Wiley Robertson. I'm a working artist, muralist, lived in Houston my whole life. I've always loved positive artwork. So many signs in Houston, like strip centers and just lots of ugly signs. I thought it'd be nice to do like some positive reminders around the city. Something bright, hand-painted, colorful for people to enjoy where they drive around or stuck in traffic or what have you. When I first started doing the street art, like most stickers and like posters I saw were all black and white. So I thought it'd be different if I could do something that was like really colorful and really bright. That would help make it stick out, or at least people could recognize my style just from the colors, sort of. So by doing that, I was able to reach people I would never reach before, because Houston is a huge city. And that's really what excites me a lot, is just new people seeing my work. I mean, when I first started doing it, it was all just the signs. 2 years ago, I started doing more big love installations. Now that I've gotten permission from some people to paint their walls, and that's been a lot of fun to do. Bigger and brighter and better is always more fun. Yeah, most visible work's on 59 by Wendy's, right off the freeway by Maine. Dandy Warhol was running a gallery there, and he had mentioned it to me like in passing, I think at some point, that if I wanted to, I could get up there and paint it. So eventually I picked him up on that and got all the ladders required and equipment and got up there and painted it. And it's a lot of fun because I'm sure at least 500,000 people see it a day. Some people can see the word love and probably bad connotations or whatever, broken up recently or something like that. But yeah, like there's so much stuff in Houston. There's such a daily grind people get caught up in, work and life. It's nice just to have a little subtle reminder hidden, sprinkled throughout Houston. I really just want to cover my artwork throughout Houston and just continue to improve my work as a muralist, continue to promote myself. I hope that the younger generation gets inspired and does even more awesome stuff than I'm doing and people I know, and keep seeing more graffiti and street art. Love.
Be on the lookout for public art in our community. Miamisburg, Springfield, and Dayton all have some fun murals to check out. And that wraps it up for this edition of The Art Show. Until next time, I'm Rodney Veal, and thanks for watching.
Funding for the Art Show was made possible by Montgomery County Arts and Cultural District, the Virginia W. Kettering Foundation, proud supporter of the arts in our community, Ohio Arts Council, Ohio Humanities Council, and viewers like you. Thank you.